Well, I just watched it. First of all, I think Eubank done it to make a point with the egg, because we all know what happened with the egg. Conor ate eggs that were tainted, allegedly, and they therefore his drug test, he failed.
Failing the drug test,
So, you know, it's part of the...
Steve Collins was the first fighter to beat both Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. He famously defeated the fathers of Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Looking back at recent events, Collins spoke about Conor Benn's failed drug test and stressed how serious this issue is in modern boxing. Talking about a possible fight between their sons, Collins shared his thoughts with a smile. He said, "I think Eubank could win until Benn hits him." Collins explained that Eubank Jr. has the skill and movement to outbox Benn for most of the fight, but warned that Benn's power is dangerous. One clean punch could change everything, which makes the fight exciting for fans. Collins also mentioned how much the sons are like their famous fathers. He didn't just see a resemblance, he saw signs of the two toughest and most famous fighters he ever faced. He said the fight isn't just about titles or pride, it's about legacy, pressure, and living up to the names that shaped British boxing. Let me know if you need anything else.
The really are carbon copies of their dads, definitely, yeah. You know, Nigel Benn Sr. was raw, and when he hit, he hurt, he was dangerous. And Chris Eubank Sr. was clever and was very durable. So the two sons are a reflection of their father, so and that's a great fight.
He described Conor Benn Jr. as raw, powerful, and dangerous, just like his dad when he got into the ring. Eubank Jr., he said, is smart, calculated, and very tough, just like his father, Eubank Sr. To Collins, it felt like watching the past come alive with even more energy. The sons aren't just good fighters, they have the same tough qualities that made their fathers legends. That's what makes this fight so exciting. Collins didn't just talk about the fighters' skills, he also shared his strong opinions on what's been happening outside the ring. Leading up to the fight, tensions were high, emotions ran wild, and things got personal. One memorable moment was when Chris Eubank Jr. smashed an egg on Conor Benn's face during a face-off. This incident led to a big fine and sparked a lot of debates.
Eubank was fun. I'm a very big supporter of British Boxing Board of Control. I know a lot of guys have worked there, and I think it's a great organisation. And I believe they fined them £100,000 for that action. I think that's a bit unfair. I think it's a big fine. I think they should give him a fine, a slap on the wrist, and an apology. I think charging them 100 grand for that is it's a bit steep, and I don't really agree with that. Although I do support them in a lot of the decisions they make, I kind of think that one's a bit hard, and I think they should retract that and just give him a slap on the wrist, charge him a few bob, and just get on with it, because it's all part of the build-up. He didn't punch him, didn't do anything crazy, he didn't headbutt him. He hit him with an egg, to wind him up, I think.
Collins admitted that Eubank Jr. went too far with the egg incident, but he thought the punishment was too harsh. He saw it as part of the mind games, not something serious. To him, the $100,000 fine was way too much for what he thought was just a stunt. While Collins still supports the British Boxing Board, he felt they made a mistake this time. He thought a small punishment would have been fair, and the fans would still have been excited for the fight. However, not everyone saw the egg incident as just harmless fun. Former world champion Tony Bellew had a very different opinion. He warned that acts like that can go too far. What started as mind games, in his eyes, had crossed into dangerous territory. Bellew believes the fight has become bigger than just boxing and has turned into a cultural storm ready to explode.
When he slaps an egg off the side of his head, which I don't like and I think is a bit dangerous and stupid, it takes it to another level commercially, and like I said, it's out of control, if I'm being totally honest. God help it fight week, because I think the whole country's just going to be engulfed in it. I think it'll be on the front page and the back page of every paper. And it's huge, because of the legacy and the name that their fathers carried, and now they've actually took it themselves to another personal level. Tony, what's gone on with the whole drama around it all, in my opinion.
Bellew pointed out that moments like the egg incident aren't just reckless. They can make things worse and spiral out of control. He worries that the atmosphere during fight week could get intense, even chaotic, with so much family legacy and pride on the line. Emotions are already running high, and now the focus isn't just on the fighters, but everything around them. Bellew believes this fight has become more than just a sport. It's front-page news, driven by history and personal pride. The egg incident didn't just make headlines, it became the main topic in the boxing world. Chris Eubank Jr. didn't try to calm things down. Instead, he took control of the moment, with a cold, calculated response, turning what some saw as a stunt into a bold statement. He made it clear that what others called disrespect was, to him, a part of the psychological games meant to rattle his opponent and show dominance. He said, "I had multiple eggs in my pockets. The Louis Vuitton jacket I was wearing had at least 9, some of them rotten." He then added, "But I only had time to grab one in that moment, and one was enough." That's what this kid deserves, the worst of the worst. Every part of this comment was deliberate. The rotten eggs weren't an accident. They were meant to send a message. The mention of the Louis Vuitton jacket added style and swagger, showing he could mix class and chaos. Saying one egg was enough showed he didn't need to go all out. Just one hit was enough to get under Benn's skin. Calling Benn the worst of the worst was a harsh insult meant to hurt. This wasn't just joking around. It was psychological. Warfare, and Eubank Jr. made sure the world knew how far he was willing to go. Eubank Jr. didn't stop at the egg incident. He followed up with some of the harshest words yet, attacking Conor Benn's past and refusing to let the failed drug test be forgotten. For Eubank, this wasn't just about winning the fight. It was about publicly humiliating his opponent. He made it personal, and he made sure it would stay that way.
You are a cheat, and there's no hiding it, there's no forgetting it. This will stay with you for the rest of your life. Getting that snapshot of him, with the yolk dripping down the side of his chin piece, and he's gritting his teeth, I'm gonna make a t-shirt of that. That image is gonna stay with him for the rest of his life. And that's what kids will see. If you treat with drugs, you're gonna pay for it.
Eubank spoke with cold confidence, calling Benn a cheat with no chance of redemption. He saw the egg incident as a symbol of who Benn really is. He described Benn's reaction in detail, like a snapshot of shame that would stay in everyone's memory. Eubank even promised to turn the moment into a t-shirt, making it a lasting reminder. This wasn't just mind games anymore. It was about publicly humiliating Benn, and Eubank made it clear that he would carry this with him long after the fight was over. As the war of words grew, the tension between Eubank Jr. and Benn reached a boiling point. The build-up had moved far beyond typical fight promotion. It was now personal, raw, and unpredictable. Former world champion Tony Bellew could feel the danger in the air. He wasn't just excited about the fight, he was seriously worried about what might happen next. Bellew warned that the rivalry had become so intense it could explode at any moment. He believed the fighters couldn't even cross paths in public without things turning physical. The anger, insults, and mind games had built up to a dangerous level. In his eyes, this wasn't just a boxing match anymore. It was a street fight, waiting to happen. Unless something cooled things down, fight week could turn into a full meltdown. Despite all the chaos, Tony Bellew recognized something important. In the middle of all the drama, insults, and tension, he saw control. While things seemed like they were getting out of hand, Bellew believed one man was actually pulling the strings behind the scenes: Chris Eubank Jr.
I think they're gonna go in there and it's gonna be no holds barred. They're gonna literally. I just hope these two don't see each other before the fight comes. I wouldn't like these two to see each other in the street or bump into each other shopping around London or whatever. I think it's that volatile it could spill over.
Bellew praised how Eubank Jr. had mastered the mind games, controlling the press, the crowd, and even Conor Benn. With the legacy, drama, and hype around the fight, he believes this could go down as one of the biggest fights in British boxing history. As the excitement grows, the stakes are becoming clearer and heavier. This fight isn't just about legacy or bragging rights, it's about risk. Tony Bellew broke down the pressure each fighter is facing and made it clear that the burden isn't the same for both. In his opinion, Chris Eubank Jr. is walking a much tighter line.
Does the loser go, Tony, after it?
Oh. Well, I think, if I'm being brutally honest, there's only pride to lose for Conor Benn. I mean, for Chris Eubank Jr., he's got everything to lose. If he gets beat or knocked out off a welterweight, and he's a middleweight slash super middleweight, then he is going to be in a world of trouble. Really is.
Bellew explained that for Conor Benn, it's mostly about pride. He's moving up in weight and taking a big risk. But for Eubank Jr., the stakes are much higher. Losing to a natural welterweight could hurt his reputation in ways that are hard to fix. It wouldn't just be a loss, it would be a career setback that's hard to explain. Bellew believes the pressure on Eubank is huge, and that's what makes this fight even more intense. With emotions running high and legacies on the line, Bellew reminded everyone that at the heart of all this, there's another powerful force driving the fight: money. Big names, big drama, and even bigger paydays.
It really is. But like I said before, it's egos, it's pride at stake, it's family names, and I mean, ultimately, let's all just be brutally honest. This is happening because of the money is astronomical.
Bellew pointed out that
while pride and family legacy fuel the fire, the real driving force behind the fight is money. According to Bellew, the money involved is too big to ignore, and that's why this fight had to happen. As fight night approaches, Bellew took a tactical approach to break things down. He didn't just focus on the drama or legacy. He looked at how the fight might actually unfold in the ring. For Bellew, it's not just about size or hype. It's about who can handle the pressure and survive the toughest moments.
There's so much more to lose for Eubank Jr. than there is for Conor. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the only reason Eubank Jr. will win is because of size, because it's not. This is a fight, in my opinion, of two halves. The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. If he is able to absorb what Conor Benn is able to dish out for 6 rounds, the fight then turns in his favour. Because the second 6, that's when size does come into play.
Bellew explained that Eubank Jr. is under more pressure, but the fight won't come down to size or weight alone. He sees it as a battle with 2 parts. In the early rounds, he believes Conor Benn's speed and aggression could overwhelm Eubank. However, if Eubank can survive that early storm, Bellew thinks the momentum will shift in the later rounds. Eubank's size, strength, and experience could start to take control. For Bellew, the real question isn't who starts strong, but who can finish stronger. After breaking down the fight round by round, Bellew focused on Eubank Jr.'s style. While many see Eubank as confident and flashy, Bellew gave a more honest and raw analysis. He stripped away the bravado and looked at the fighter beneath, offering sharp insights into what Eubank brings to the table and what he lacks.
I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. is the best boxer. I actually think he's a better fighter than he is a boxer. Technically, he's not very good. I don't know where he gets off on thinking he's the second coming of Roy Jones Jr., because he's not. And as for Conor, he knows what he is. He goes in and he lets his hands go. And he's reckless and he's wild and he can be explosive and dynamic. All of them things he's going to need in this fight, Chris Eubank Jr. And he's going to need a little bit more as well. He's going to have to be rough, rugged, and he's not going to be able to stop and let him.
Bellew didn't hold back. He said Eubank Jr. isn't the most polished or technical boxer, but he's a dangerous fighter when the fight gets rough. The wildness, explosiveness, and unpredictability are where Eubank thrives. However, Bellew warned that this style alone won't be enough against a relentless opponent like Benn. Eubank will need to dig deeper, stay sharp, and fight with grit. It won't be about looking slick, it'll be about surviving a tough battle. After talking about Eubank Jr.'s raw fighting style, Bellew circled back to what he thinks will be the turning point of the fight. It's not about who lands first, it's about who lasts the longest. Bellew believes that if Eubank can hold his ground early, the second half of the fight will swing heavily in his favor. He said, "If I'm being totally honest, I think Eubank really comes into play after 6 rounds. That's when, if he can wear Benn down, he'll take control." Bellew sees Eubank Jr. as a fighter who gets stronger as the rounds go on. The early danger from Benn, in his view, can be survived with smarts and resilience. But once Benn's energy starts to fade and the pressure builds, Eubank's size, toughness, and experience will take over. That's when the real damage can be done. For Bellew, the second half of the fight is Eubank's territory, and that's where the fight could be decided. After all the expert analysis and opinions, rising heavyweight prospect Moses Itama offered a fresh and honest perspective. Unlike the seasoned experts who pick sides, Itama admitted he's torn. For him, the excitement comes from not knowing who will win, and that's what makes this fight so exciting.
It's entertaining, isn't it? So I do like watching it. Who do I think is going to win the fight? I generally don't know. I feel like Conor Benn wants it more. He said, I don't even care about the belts. I just want to fight Eubank. I want to knock him out, X, Y, Z. So like, I feel like Conor's got that heart there and obviously the explosiveness. And then I just think Eubank, he's got that experience. Do you get what I mean? He's been around the block. And the natural size. He's lost 3 times. People don't know how much a loss can actually change a fighter. So I generally don't know, and I guess this is what makes the fight scary.
Tama pointed out that Conor Benn seems to want it more, bringing raw hunger and emotion into the ring. He noticed Benn's explosiveness and attitude, saying it feels personal for him, not about belts, but about beating Eubank. On the other hand, Eubank Jr. brings experience, size, and lessons learned from past losses. Itama reminded fans that defeats can shape a fighter and often make them more dangerous. He couldn't pick a clear winner, and that uncertainty is what makes this fight so special. As Moses Itama continued to share his thoughts, he leaned slightly toward one fighter, though still torn. He gave a nod to the fighter he thinks might have the edge when it matters most. It wasn't a bold prediction, but more of a cautious pick based on logic and experience. He said, I'll put my money on Eubank because he's more experienced and obviously bigger. But like I said, I'm very 50-50 on this one. Even as he gave Eubank the edge, Itama made it clear that this fight is extremely close for him. It's Eubank's ring experience and natural size that could tip the balance, but he didn't rule out Benn's hunger and power making the difference. Itama's take reflects what many fans feel. This is a true 50-50 clash. It's unpredictable, explosive, and completely up for grabs. That's why the whole country will be watching. As the debate continues, boxing promoter Francis Warren added his voice, firmly supporting Conor Benn. While many analysts have focused on Eubank Jr.'s size and experience, Warren emphasized momentum, hunger, and the pure fire Benn brings to the ring. For him, the fight could be settled quickly if Benn starts fast.
Conor Benn, take away the fact that I think Conor Benn's biggest win is probably Chris Eubank Jr. He stepped up to the plate on that night. Chris Eubank has mixed it with in much better company and given higher weights, and you've got that argument. But I just think that Conor Benn, he looks ferocious. He looks like he wants it more, and I think the age factor will come into it. And I'm not sure Eubank. Well, I don't think Eubank will be able to keep up with him in the first 3-4 rounds of the fight. And I think it'd be an early.
Warren acknowledged that Eubank has fought tougher opponents at higher weights, but he said Benn's intensity stands out. He pointed to Benn's aggressive style, suggesting that the younger fighter's speed and urgency could overwhelm Eubank early. He also mentioned the age difference, believing it might catch up with Eubank in the opening rounds. Following Warren's confident support of Conor Benn, broadcaster and boxing pundit Simon Jordan echoed a similar view from the start. Jordan hasn't changed his mind about who will win. While others have been uncertain, he's stayed firm in his pick and isn't afraid to say it. He stated, I felt from the beginning that Conor Benn was the likely winner. Despite the size gap and Eubank's experience, Jordan has been backing Benn from day one. For him, it's about instinct and what he's seen in Benn's hunger and mindset. He believes Benn's focus and aggression will be too much for Eubank to handle. His pick isn't based on hype, but on a consistent belief in Benn's power. As the fight nears, Jordan remains firmly in Benn's camp, ready to see if his long-held prediction comes true in the ring. After all the analysis and breakdowns, Tony Bellew gave his final verdict, this time with real conviction. While he acknowledged the strengths of both fighters, Bellew made it clear where his gut is leaning. It's no longer about size or hype, it's about styles, speed, and who brings the fight. Bellew emphasized that the agreed weight means no excuses. Both men know what they signed up for. In terms of style, he sees Benn's speed and aggression as overwhelming. Bellew believes Benn will come out fast, closing the distance quickly and putting Eubank on the back foot. For him, this fight isn't just about who's bigger or who's been around longer. It's about who strikes first and hardest, and in his eyes, that man is Conor Benn. The build-up to Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn has been nothing short of electric, full of legacy, drama, personal jabs, and expert opinions from some of the biggest names in boxing. From Steve Collins to Tony Bellew, Simon Jordan to Francis Warren, the fight has sparked strong views across the board. What do you think? Is Eubank Jr.'s experience and durability enough to carry him through the early storm? Can Benn's speed and firepower overwhelm the bigger man before the later rounds? Will this fight live up to the hype or possibly even surpass it? And more importantly, who do you think will walk out with the win when pride, power, and legacy all collide in the ring? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.